queens and heroes acting out there on the silver screen. Come grab a seat, the popcorn is on me.
Hello, welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T, man of the second, here hanging out with Mr. Darryl Mansel back on the show. We're so happy to see you, man. Always good to see you, buddy.
Likewise. It's always good whenever the bat signal goes out. I'm here to answer that call for you.
Well, I do appreciate it. And the bat signal did go out. I bumped into you at a recent screening, and I said, we've got to have you on the show. And you said, all right, anytime, let me know. So I did. So welcome. And we may or may not have another guest. Thomas Manning was supposed to be with us, but he texted just a few minutes ago and said he's watching a movie. So, which is good because the name of the show, the name of the show is Meet Me at the Movies, right here on C19 TV and also WG. But we want to be able to share those thoughts with others. So maybe Thomas will join us. If he does, it's the new Jennifer Lawrence film he will talk about. But you know, we're not going to hold our breath. But in the meantime, we are going to talk about a few films, including this Indiana Jones time travel film, Indiana Jones and the Time Travel Device of Yesteryear, I think is the unofficial title. And that was changed, I think, to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? Is that what the
changed
official...
at the 11th hour.
Yeah, they never listen to Noel.
To their detriment.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, this is a film that I've been waiting for quite a while. Especially when I heard who was attached to it from a director's standpoint. I like James Mangold and the work he's done, and I've been fortunate enough to spend some time talking to a couple of cinematographers that have worked with him and worked on this film. And I remember talking to them while they were working on it, and they couldn't give me the inside scoop, but they could say, hey, I'm working on the new indie film. And so I was really looking forward to this on a lot of different levels. I grew up loving the franchise and really appreciating just the action-adventure aspect of this popcorn flick that really kind of seems to make summer or summer's past. So high expectations for this. Let me get your expectations before we talk about this particular film.
Right, I'm right there with you. I'm on record as saying many times that we don't get adventure movies like we used to. We get a lot of action movies these days. You know, the action movies also kind of been replaced by comic book movies, but we don't get a whole lot of good swashbuckling adventures. I think that's why Pirates of the Caribbean was so popular, because there wasn't really anything in that place. For me, Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the most perfect movies ever made. I absolutely love it, adore it. I love Indiana Jones as a character, and just watching those movies. So I was right there with you as far as like so excited to see a new indie. We know going in that this is his farewell journey, so you know there's going to be some emotion involved and all that. I was very hyped to see this movie.
Yeah, and you talk about Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, particularly released in '81, and still today a perfect film. All these years later, it's still just an amazingly perfect film, and you had a lot to live up to. And we've had 4 of these films now. We thought several years ago when Sean Connery was in Last Crusade, we honestly thought that was the last time we would see Indiana Jones, but came back with the Crystal Skull, and we do know for sure, this is the last time. What's the story? Well, the story, there is a device that can allow, or we think will allow you to go back in time and you can make changes. Nazis are involved. They of course want to change the past so they can change history and change the future. There are puzzles. There's mysteries. There are chase scenes. There are fight scenes. There are more chase scenes, and there is a lot of action. And Indy is really kind of this grumpy, aging professor that really doesn't seem like he cares about life anymore. Mm-hmm. Which the spark that we had seen in him previously is not there.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of Harrison Ford in this movie. It seems like he's taken his grumpy man act and really just transferred it to Indiana Jones. But given with the backstory we hear throughout the movie, what he's kind of been through since we last saw him, some of that a little bit justified, but it is also kind of disheartening to see that lack of for the old Indiana Jones, for lack of a better phrase. It is disheartening to not really see that.
Yeah, and that's one of the words that just kind of kept coming back to me throughout. I was kind of disheartened by this film. It had all the things that you would probably expect if you're going to be doing the check boxes and the formula for what you would find in an Indiana Jones film. But it felt like it truly was, for me, in many ways, just on autopilot. And I didn't feel that fulfillment and that just that joy when I left the theater that I had in the past. And while all Indiana Jones films are not up to the same level, I will say that right off the bat. But with each of them, I've been able to come out and say, wow, I still felt good with what I saw and the experience I had. And this is one of those films, Darryl, that it's been a long time since I've come out of a film and had this kind of uncertain angst of emotions of I don't really know what I'm feeling, and it's taking me some time to digest it. And there's another film we'll talk about a little later that I've kind of felt the same way about in certain aspects.
Yeah, like I'm the same way. I have my review written and it's on ice right now, and I keep coming back to it, and I'm like, I'm not sure if what my review has directly correlates to how I feel. I've gone back to it a couple times, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, this kind of sums it up, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And it's just, I haven't felt this way, I don't think, since The Last Jedi, really. I just came out so uncertain as to what it was I saw and couldn't quite nail down how I felt. It starts off on a high note. I really like the opening action sequence that we get, but then there's some choices made in that third act with Indiana Jones that just do not sit well with me at all, and kind of taint him as a character. You would think the person we know that is a we assume tenured professor,
right,
would be smarter than that in the decisions that he's wanting to make towards the end there. But yeah, it's weird. I got it right above Crystal Skull, below Temple of Doom in my rankings, but still iffy on it. It's going to take maybe one more watch for me to try to nail down.
Yeah, I loved the opening sequence you mentioned. There was the de-aging that took place, and they are becoming they are honestly starting to perfect that in a lot of ways. And we know what a young Harrison Ford looked like. So to see that, I kind of got lost in those first 12 minutes of going, wow, this is pretty dang cool, seeing this younger Indiana Jones with this kind of flashback sequence. And I appreciated that. The villain, Mads Mikkelsen, who I've enjoyed in so many things throughout his career. Once again, bringing a Nazi in, and how many times can you have the Nazis show up and Indiana Jones has to find a way to take them down? I really did enjoy the new sidekick who was the goddaughter in this. I appreciated her banter a bit. The
standout for me in this movie, I think, is Phoebe Waller-Bridge. When they announced her attachment to the movie, me being a big fan of her show Fleabag, I was right there with it. I was like, yes, give this to me. And that aspect of the movie did not disappoint whatsoever. I think she's got a little bit of action chops in her own right. It's a little bit of that new school brushing up against the old school, different thoughts, different ideologies. And it was interesting to see their chemistry and how they played off of each other. But yeah, coming out of me, the one thing I was sure of was Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah, and she had a sidekick as well, which was honestly a throwback to Temple of Doom, and I think that was one of the things I felt they were forcing these fan service moments throughout the film, just to say, oh, okay, that's a nod to this one, that's a nod to that one, and it for me it didn't feel organic. It didn't feel authentic. It felt like, okay, we've got to shoehorn this in just so people will say, oh, yeah, I see what you're doing there. I really, when I review films, if it's something I really love or think is relatively good, I can explain why and talk about why. If it's really bad, the same way. But it's these films that hit me kind of in the middle that I find the most difficult, because I did not hate this film. I did not love this film. There are aspects of it that I thought were incredibly solid. The technical achievements were there. But when I look at the action sequences and the chase sequences and those kinds of things, Darryl, it didn't surpass anything that I saw 40 years ago in the first Raiders of the Lost Ark. So to me, if you're going to further this and utilize that adventure aspect, take it up a notch. Find ways to bring it up a notch. And they just did not do that for me, and incredibly disappointed in that aspect of it. My bride, Beth, we talked about it as we left, and these are her quotes. She said she didn't feel like there was spark or heart in this particular film. And I said, really, you kind of nailed it. That's what was kind of missing, and that's why it hurts to say this about a character that I love so much. Yeah,
it's a good surface level Indiana Jones, but if you want to get into really who he is and what those movies are about, it's not the best in that aspect. Mikkelsen always makes for a great villain. Here, I thought he was okay. He was serviceable.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts or comments you want to make sure you share before we give a rating for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
Worth checking out at least once in theaters, because it's going to be the last time you see an Indiana Jones movie in theaters. After that, man, I think it'll be a great Saturday afternoon movie.
Yeah, I agree. So what is your rating? Remember, we do the A to F report card rating.
I think I'm going to give it a... man, I always forget these. You got these ratings. I'm going to go with a solid C+.
You know, I'm right there with you, right on that C+. When we were riding home from it, Beth said, I'm kind of at that B-. And then the next day, the more I think about it, she said, honestly, a C+. I'm like, Beth, yes, I'm with you. And it hurts me to say that. It really hurts me to say that, because this was one of the films, when I was looking at the most anticipated films of the summer, for me, this was one of those. Well, you are watching Meet Me at the Movies on C19 TV and WG.org if you're listening to the radio or the podcast version. Darryl Mansel, our guest right here as we talk film. We're going to come back after this quick intermission, and we're going to talk about the story of a nude streaker. So hang around. You heard me right. A nude streaker. That story, the origin story, right after this quick intermission.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a flick?
Hi, I'm Shara Miller, the host of Artworks. Each month we bring to you wonderful, talented artists from here in Cleveland County and the region. We have artists, we have potters, we have painters, we have musicians, we have actors. We just have wonderful artists that come to you and tell you about all that they're doing, their creativity, what inspires them. Join me here on Artworks each month on C19. You can also watch us online at C19.TV.
Do you like to work with your hands, build, make something work, show, I've done this? Turn your interest into a career. Construction trades at Cleveland Community College can give you the skills you need. Well-trained electricians are in high demand. CCC delivers hands-on training both in and outside the classroom. CCC makes it simple for students to get ahead, whether they want single courses, certificates, diplomas, or associate degrees. Now the question is, are you ready to start your journey today?
Hi, I'm Tim Foster from C19 TV Sports. Join us each month for Yeti Tracks right here on C19 TV. Each month we talk to the players and the coaches of Yeti Athletics, including cross country, Yeti's boys baseball, and Yeti's girls softball. We break down the matchups, the conferences, the games, and the events that make Yeti sports so special. Stay informed with Yeti Athletics right here on Yeti Tracks each month. Join us right here on C19 TV and online at C19.TV.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a flick?
Hello, welcome back to Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T. Manning the second here, hanging out with Darryl Mansel. Thomas Manning still hasn't joined us, and he probably won't. But he is watching the new Jennifer Lawrence film that is a coming-of-age comedy that you always see during the summer months. And so he'll talk about it sometime down the road. So if you missed the first half of the show, we did not particularly love Indiana Jones' latest film. So C+, we both gave that across the board. But there's another one, maybe has more potential. I don't know. It's a film that kind of sped into theaters, did not make a ton of money, did not make as much as they had hoped for. We're talking about Flash, a film another one we've been waiting on for quite a while. There's been build up for this ever since we started seeing this kind of Justice League thing happen, almost a decade ago, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. Waiting a while for this movie is, I think, an understatement. I think it was the first official announcement of this particular Flash happened at Comic-Con in 2014. So, it's been a little bit. It's all the delays and all the off-screen drama and whatnot that's happened. It's become is this even worth it type of movie, and now we finally have our answer. And for me, that answer is no, not really. It's not exactly worth it.
Yes, sir. You're not going to have to wait around to the end to know how Darryl feels about this one. Yeah. Well, this one, we kind of seem to be caught up in these superhero films now that are time travel, multiversal. It's just so many of them. And even a few, actually, 3 of the films we had on our radar to talk about today, all 3 dealt with time travel or either the alternate universes in some form or fashion. And Flash definitely does that. And, there were not really any great secrets about Michael Keaton coming back. They've been talking about that for, at least a year now. It's been confirmed, if not longer. We've seen clips of it. So while if nobody had watched the trailers and you went in and watched this movie, you may have appreciated when he popped up on screen. You might have had that moment, kind of like we did with Spider-Man when we saw that multiversal aspect happen with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. There was just this sense of, man, I can't believe I'm getting a chance to witness this. Yep. And this movie had the potential to do that, but there were just so many leaks and so many things in the trailers that you're like, okay, Supergirl's going to show up. It's not going to be Superman, and that's going to be the person. So they gave away so many things in the trailer that I went in going, okay, am I going to be surprised about anything? And there were a few, but were they worth it or not? I'm going to ask you, do you think those other surprises were worth it?
No, I don't think they were. I think as a whole, if this project had been kept more under wraps, it could have been a bigger thing. But as you said, too much got leaked and too much Warner Brothers marketed and promoted. It could have been a little bit more. But, the surprises and the cameos that pop up aren't enough to save the story, which I have issues with altogether.
Yeah. So tell me your biggest problems with the story. First, I will say that I did appreciate Ezra Miller playing against himself. I thought his humor, what I loved, what I saw when he was first introduced as a Flash, it worked for me. The humor aspect and his interaction with himself, I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the better parts is the interaction between the two Barrys. What doesn't work for me is the not the conceit of the movie. I have to go back in time to do this thing to save my mother. It's what he does towards the end once he realizes. To me, the theme of the movie is you can have all the power in the world, but that isn't enough to. Some things will always just be what they are, and there's nothing you can do about that. And with some decisions that he makes towards the end, to me, it seems like that he never really truly learns his lesson. in the movie. You think he learns it, but at the end he makes one last decision that's great for him. But again, you realize that you still made a decision when you shouldn't have in the first place. You didn't learn anything from this movie. That is my main issue with this story, and that we've seen it all over the internet. The horrendous visual effects. Yeah.
There was one sequence, and we're not going to give away a ton here. It may be a minor spoiler, but there is at one point where the Barrys are able to see all of these different timelines and multiverses with other characters, and characters from the past. Some of those we've seen before, and some of those we had hoped to see before. And I felt like in those sequences I was watching a video game instead of watching live action of what should have been portrayed on screen, and that took me out of it. And I'm like you. I felt, wow, it's while it's cool to see some of these characters, I think it could have been done in a better way, or not at all. And I think this film speaks to some of the same things that Spiderverse speaks to. Is it, do we have choice, or is there predestination in what our lives are unfolding? Is it fate? Or can we make the choices to change things, even if we don't know what they are? Can we be free of choice? And I think Spiderverse did that so much better across the Spiderverse. But this film, another one of those that I'm talking about, Flash, another one of those films that I think had wonderful potential and wonderful opportunity, especially since we've been talking about it and hearing about it for so long. But again, it fell short for me. Any final comments before you give a rating for this one?
Yeah, I think couched within this movie, so everything surrounding it, couched in there, is an actual good movie. There's just too much direct to cut through to find that actual good movie. Much like I said earlier, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I think Sasha Calle is the breakout of this movie as Superwoman. I think she is amazing in this role, and she is severely underutilized, unfortunately. But yeah, I think everything with this movie, combined with the fact that we already know that they're rebooting everything, is just interest is lost in this particular project and upcoming projects as well, and that's going to hinder it more than it helps.
Yeah, I agree. Kaye was amazing. I would watch a standalone film with her. I would love to see that backstory of how she was captured. How did that happen? What, was it her entire life she was captured, or was there a moment in time that it happened? And you find out if you watch the trailers. I'm not giving you anything away there. And it was, I will say, I appreciated being able to see Keaton again, and kind of a Keaton who was aged. And if we're going to compare characters, Keaton showed up as Batman and Bruce Wayne in '89, and I felt this film did a better job showing an aging Batman, Bruce Wayne, than Indiana Jones did showing Indiana Jones aging. And I know we're talking apples to oranges, but I think the same concept. You've got this guy that his whole life is kind of gone, and everything that he's loved is gone, and he's letting everything fall down around him. And honestly, he could just kind of walk away and let the whole world crumble, but he makes a choice not to let that happen. So I was glad to see Keaton back wearing the Batman suit. I did appreciate that.
Agreed.
So what is your rating for the Flash?
Yeah, I'm going to give this a C as well. I think there's elements that work quite well. It's just hampered too much by, for me, the elements that don't work is what really drags this movie down.
Gotcha. So you said C or C plus on this one?
C.
Okay. C. I'm actually going to go with a C plus because of Keaton and Kaye that raised the bar for me. Had they not been there, not so much. We've got just a couple minutes to talk about one of these final two. Which would you rather talk about, Across the Spiderverse in our last couple minutes, or Extraction 2?
I feel like you should keep the theme rolling and go with Spiderverse.
Yep, let's do it. To me, this is a film that I, as soon as it was over, I was ready to go back for more.
Yeah, same. I was like, there's no way they can top the incredibleness that was the first. And boy, did they top the incredibleness that was the first. I loved almost every aspect. It ends on one of those good, like, Empire Strikes Back ends on a fairly wrapped up story, and you know there's something.
Yes.
This ends on a holy goodness. How are they going to get out of this? Which is one of the really great, types of endings there is. One of the great cliffhanger types. And I can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah, and you do find yourself going, oh man, I just can't wait. I want to go back and watch again. And one of the things I loved about it is there were so many times that there was so much going on screen that I was mesmerized, and I was trying to take in every inch of the screen to look at some of the characters that were there, or the different Spider men and Spider women, and Spider creatures, because they're not all. There's some creatures in there too, and I just the art, every frame was just absolutely beautiful. The sound design, the score, the characters, and the story, all of those things, every single one of those things clicked. And like you said, after watching the first one, how can they find a way to do it again? And they did. And for me, this is a film that I will revisit. This is a film that I will own when it comes out. The previous two films we've talked about, I don't know that I'm going to revisit those. Not anytime soon. I don't have a desire to. But Across the Spiderverse, yeah, I want to be in that Spiderverse again and again and again.
Agreed. Those other two movies we discussed are what I like to call, those can be Black Friday sales for me. That's when I'll pick those up. Spider-Verse is like, put it on your calendar. This is the day it hits your physical release, because I got to get to the store and pick it up. I had so much fun with it, so much heart to it, and I loved every bit of it, man.
Yeah, and it, it's a film, it's a franchise so far that continues to speak to family, and it's Fast and Furious, but it's in the Spider-Verse. It's family. It's family. and so many films do speak about family, but this one does it in a way that just gets to you. And going back to what my bride said, that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny lacked, this film had heart. This film had spark. It had it all. And I'm so glad that at least we have this to look back on for the summer of 2023 so far.
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing it through the eyes of my daughter, who, like Miles, is black and Puerto Rican, and seeing a character that she can glom onto, and going from I don't really care about superheroes to, ooh, tell me more about this Spider guy. What's his business? What's his story? What's he all about? So it's nice seeing it from that aspect as well. And if it's bringing more fans to the comic community, then I'm also all for it.
What is your rating for this film, Darryl, before we wrap up?
The rating for this is definitely an A+ in my book.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I don't give too many A+. We kind of across the board are in agreement that this go around A+, one of the best films of the summer so far. And we're so glad to have you with us. We always appreciate you. We appreciate all of our listeners and our viewers and people who take the time to spend with us. We know you have a lot of things that you can do with your life, but when you take the time to be with us, we just want to say thank you. Until next time, for Meet Me at the Movies, we're still waiting on Thomas, but for us, that is a wrap.